Today we will talk about reading files. So in our console application we could read user input from keyboard, but also we could use files to make our application more useful. So for example, of course, I could input something like that with my keyboard, but that would be great if I will get ability to put my input into file, or even save something to file from my application and use it from session to session, opening my application again and again and work with the same data. So let's talk about that. This work is comparable to work with scanner, but we will use file, not user input but files. So there are not so much differences between that. So first of all, we should create file input stream, and let's call this variable file, and we will create this input stream and pass actually name of our file. So I already created students.txt and I put this name here. Now I have error because I should add exception method. So when I use file input stream, there could be error when there is no such file in directory. So that's why my application should throw the exception. So we just added this. IntelliJ IDEA helps us to add the syntax to our main method, and that will work everywhere. In method where you need to use this file input stream, you should just add this throw file not found exception. So let me emphasize that I created this txt file. How to do that? You just right click on your project, not src, but just on your project, create new file, call this file, here I use student.txt. So you just create file, put this here in the highest level of hierarchy of our project, not into this folder but into project folder, and then you could use this by your console application. Okay, so we created variable of file input stream, and now we come to our scanner, which we already familiar with when we use user input. So we create new scanner, but now we pass into constructor of scanner actually our file, because we want to read from file, not from system keyboard. Right. Then we just start to read from this file. So we will have loop, and we will read until our file has next line. So for example, if my file is empty, then this loop will not happen, but in this loop I will read line by line and work with every line of my file. So let's go. Let's get current line of our file. So we use scanner, next line. Let me now just output to make sure that everything is working. New line, and I will just output line which I just read from my file. So let me run this. So we could see new line and then output of this line, new line and output of the next line, and so on. So we could see that we got ability to read from this file line by line. So now our challenge is to work with this actual line to understand how to take our data from this line separately. So we would like to have John as a name separately. We would like to have separate last name and separate grade. Okay, let me delete this test code and move forward. So how to do this? How to get my data from line separately? So I could use method split and put separator into this method. So I use my variable line and this variable of class string, and this class has this method split, which will break up my line into words using this space separator. Of course, I will get collection of words now, collection of strings. It is actually array, so that's why let me create variable words and array, and let me just put my words from the line into this array. So again, let me check that I will output this into console to be sure that everything is working. So I take my first element, words 0. Then I take my second element and third element. So second element, third element, and here I have word number 1, word number 2, and word number 3. So the idea is when I pass space separator into split method, I should split all this line by space. And after that method, as a return value, I will get array of strings with first element, second element, and third element. So let's check if it works. Now let me run it. And I have this loop. We have for first line, first word, second word, third word, and the same for every line of our file. Great. Now I could use this information to put this data into my specific inner structure. So I could create class student and put this data into that class, work with that class in my application, and later maybe save that data into new file or into the same file. Okay, so let me create student class. And I should just add needed fields. So name, public field. At this point I will not use setters and getters because we want to simplify all these things. Public string, last name, and public double grade. Okay, so this file or this class represents our records about our students. Have 3 fields, so we got all of that fields here. So let me also add method print, so I could check if everything works okay with my student class. So I will just output my information about student name, last name, and let it be top here to move, to make it more beautiful, and great. Okay, so later I will check if my instance of student correctly represents data from the file. Now let me move back to this loop and work with this actual 3 parts of my line, and I should put them now into class, into object. So first of all, let me create student variable, and use student, and I put correct values into corresponding fields of student object. We take second element of our array or second word, and we have double value of grade, and actually we should put word, a third word here, but there is a problem because element of words array is string, but we should have double here. So what to do with this problem? We should just transfer value from string format to double format. How to do that? We could use class double. This is a wrapper class above double data type, and use method parse double, which accepts string value, and in case everything is okay with this string value, if this string value is really representing double type, we will have correct grade as a double in our class. Okay, now let me delete test code and check if my student is correct. I will print information about my student using method print of newly created object student. So let's see, we have actually this data, and we could even make it a bit more beautiful using several tabs to create actual table for output. Almost beautiful, but nevertheless we're sure that we actually get correct information in correct fields, and we could really output needed data with student class. All right, so now our initial desire is to create collection of students on the base of this input file. Here in this loop, we in every iteration just creating separate object, but we didn't save this object in any collection. So let me create collection of students. Array list of students, student, and I'm creating students. Let's call it students, and I create a new empty array list. Now, after these assignments, after these lines, I know that my s variable of current student is ready. That's why I will add this reference to this object into my collection. So I use students, add, and put current student into my collection. Now, after this while loop, I will have collection of students in my variable. So let me check if it really works. Let me use enhanced for loop, declare current student variable. Okay, let's call it student from students, and let me output information about every student in this loop. Call this print method, and let me run it now. Okay, we see the results. So it actually working. We just got data from student file, and let me make it bigger. It could be just thousands of records or hundreds of records. And let me run and see the results. So you see that automatically we just read all the information from the file. This information is inside our students collection, and we could work and build any user interfaces to work with. After working with this database, we could also save this information back to file, and this is such a way to create kind of database using our console application. Of course, there is requirement that all this format for every string is correct and correctly represents data. So here should be a numeric value and so on, and it should be correct value. This every line should really keep 3 parts of this line. So there are of course requirements, and I didn't check any of that requirements here, but this is a quick representation of that how could we work with files.